Have you had thoughts, now that you know your children's strengths, how does that help you set goals for them in their homeschool environment? How does that help you make your daily decisions about curriculum, the activities that they do? Maybe you're looking for practical advice from parents who have gone through this homeschool journey. That never hurts. That is awesome. Have you heard of strength-driven goals? Maybe you have, and now you're wondering, how does this all turn out? What are these kids up to? You're going to love today's conversation. We're talking about, where do you go from here? How do you set goals with your child's strengths in mind? This conversation is going to be for you if you want to learn how to set goals for your child that are based on his unique strengths. You are in the right place if you're looking for practical tips from parents who've homeschooled and who are now finished this journey and whose children have graduated. This conversation is going to be for you if you're wondering, where are these children now? What's the end of this story? There's no end to the story, but I can tell you it's a happy story. This is Spark Homeschool Parent, and I'm Diana Rolston. And today's conversation is, where do you go from here? How to set goals with your child's strengths in mind. I want to welcome you to Spark Homeschool Parent. Each week, we bring you strategies to ignite the spark that engages your child's learning. SPARK is an acronym, and last month we targeted and discussed strengths, how to determine your child's strengths, realizing, as we all do, that every child is unique with their own strengths and weaknesses. This month, the month of November, we're talking more about purpose. Why are you homeschooling? What are the long-term goals of this journey? But also, how do those long-term goals and the strengths and all that we've learned so far help you determine the short-term goals? Help you decide what activities your children are to participate in, what curriculum. So I want to welcome you. I've had the fantastic opportunity of connecting with some of you, and it's so great. From parents who are thinking about homeschooling and haven't even started this journey yet, to those who have been homeschooling for many, many years, but just looking for new ideas. So wherever you are on that journey of homeschooling, home educating your children at home, I want to welcome you. And I want to, as you're starting to come onto this Facebook Live, please, I love to see your comments. And it's just so much better for us too than just looking at numbers. Say hi in the comments there. Let us know your name. And let us know if there's something we say that you agree with, something that we say that you don't agree with. That's fine too. Just let us, just send it your comments, and we'll take a look at those throughout our conversation. I have the pleasure of introducing a good friend and a homeschool mom of 3. Her children are young adults now. And I would like to introduce Christine Pollex. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Diana. How are you?
Great. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
I have never shared this with you, but I really I think you're the perfect person for this conversation because I admire you. You always seemed to be, when different opportunities came for our children, rather than being like me and yes, 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 and then running in all different directions, you were just like level-headed and very often said, I'll take that to Daniel and together we'll discuss it. And it just seems that you had clear, defined purpose and sort of goals for your children. So I'm excited to be able to talk about those today. Yeah. So let's start with, what did you see as your purpose as a homeschool mom?
So my purpose, and when I started, I didn't see a purpose, right? You're you're new. My oldest child was supposed to go to kindergarten, but I was pregnant with the third one. And it just seemed like so much being thrown at me. And I thought, no, I'm going to keep this first one home because it's easier for me with a new baby, because I would have to walk the other one to school, bundle up everyone. And so we thought we would just take it 1 year at a time, which is what a lot of people do. And then it becomes a lifestyle. And so as we went through the years, I could look back and say, well, what was my purpose? At the beginning, I thought this is just a jumble and I'm signing you up for this and I'm trying to do this and I'm trying, and you buy all this curriculum at the beginning, which we didn't really use a lot of. And then, as we went into it, I could look back and say, my purpose really is to enhance the life of these children who have been given to me. And, I guess you can do that if you send them to school. But I thought if I kept them at home, as we know, there's not a lot of home, a lot of homeschooling, but I could give them math at home. But we homeschool in Ottawa, and there's an amazing homeschool community. And so there were classes they could do with other kids, but it wasn't every day sitting down from 9 to 3. So my kids had this eclectic, social, outgoing, lots of different facets. They had copious amounts of music, copious amounts of sports, probably not enough math. We did a lot of math. And so I saw that my purpose was to enhance their life, to give them maybe something better than a run-of-the-mill, every day is the same day schedule.
I love that. And great that you brought up that we don't always know that right from the beginning, because I share that also, that I started year to year and made a lot of mistakes. But that's why we're here, to share this so that others
There's no perfect homeschooling journey.
No. And that's why I say it so many times. Each family is different. Each child is different. And also the stage that you're in. It's ever changing.
Yes. Yes.
Also, you mentioned like life enhancing. So it's much more than academics.
Yes. So I called myself a personal life enhancer. And, to hire a personal life enhancer, no one can afford this, because I was the nutritionist and the educator and the chauffeur, but also the program manager. What were my children's strengths? What could I put them in? What programs could I put them in or take them out of as well, that would really foster their growth, their character, their personalities, their whole, it was the mindset, the physical set, everything about that. So that's what I called myself, a personal life enhancer.
I love it. You actually, you sent a quote that I thought was perfect. Something that Kaylin said. I don't know if you have that in front of you.
I do. I have it actually right here. So it was interesting. I was just typing out some notes about what we were talking about today. And I asked Kaylin, who's 22 years old, to read over my notes to see if I missed anything, because she was the one I was homeschooling. And she said to me, Mom, you need a character foundation before you begin your academics. Otherwise, you will flounder. And then this quote that she came up with right off the bat, off of her head, she said, you need to be able to stand on your feet before you can walk. And I was like, can you repeat that, Kaylin? Because I'm writing this down. And she said she really appreciated being homeschooled because she was able to develop herself, who she was, what she liked, what she was good at, what she wasn't good at. And then when she went into the academic world, she found a lot of people were very fragile. And she thought that was interesting. And why would you be fragile? Because she was raised with two brothers who bullied her probably more than anyone else. And so she had this strong foundation. She knew who she was. And so she was able to take on challenges and work under stress and not crumble. And so she said, being homeschooled gave her that opportunity to know who she was.
Beautiful. Can you share some of the strengths of your three children?
Yeah, they are all different. It would be really helpful if they were all alike, because that's easy. But the first one was really good at math, like almost a prodigy good at math. So almost everything for his homeschool was focused on math and then trying to get him interested in other things. But he really had a one-track mind. So for math, it was a lot of pattern recognition, chess. So he was good at chess. He was good at music theory. So we did a lot of that. Our funny story is, when you try to expand their horizons, if they're not ready. So when he was 7 years old, it was grade 2. And I said, we're going to start language arts. You read very well. It's time for you to start writing. And I am by education, a high school English teacher. So I thought, this is what we're going to do. Well, he burst into tears, ran up to his room, and that was the end of it. And in fact, that was the end of our language arts program forever. So he reads copious amounts of materials, and I thought he's going to learn language arts just from reading. He's not open at all to language arts. So we really focused on the math. Now his sister.
Sorry, can I just jump in? I remember at one point, the books that he was reading were about mathematicians.
Yes, that's right.
So very engaged.
That's right. They were engaged. He would read them because, he could connect with them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then his sister, who's only 2 years younger and did not have that same math strength, her strength is actually people. She's very good with people. But when you're only 2 years younger and you're homeschooled, you do everything with your brother, who is good at absolutely everything from her point of view. So her strengths, well, it was the people thing, but we also gave her activities that were not her brother's activities. So she ended up doing dance. She loves dance. She's a dance instructor now and still works at the dance studio. And so she could really only develop her strengths when she was away from the shadow of her brother. And actually right now she's also getting her bachelor's of education degree with math as her teachable. So, math came eventually.
Which is really interesting because she will probably be the most perfect math teacher because she did have to work hard at that.
She had to work hard at that. Yeah. And in fact, at one point, she found the math so difficult. It wasn't actually she found it difficult. She didn't want to do it. She was under the shadow of her brother and she just turned off math to the point where we made her redo the textbook. So instead of pushing her through saying, you're going to get this, you're moving on to the next one, we actually held her back and said, you're redoing this entire textbook from start to finish. Yeah.
And that's the flexibility we have when we educate our children at home.
Yes. And it does not hold them back in the future or in real life because, she studied math at University of Ottawa and did quite well. So that was good. And then my younger one, his strengths were working. Well, no, he was the interesting one. Not overly academic. He did not read until he was 10, but he loved being read to. So he was always read to. His math was fine. He was average in everything. He really liked sports. And so the more active he was, the happier he was. And he has a very winsome personality. So he likes being with people and people like being with him. And he's 4 years younger than his brother and sister. So it was almost like having two sets. The two older ones would do this and their baby brother would follow along. And by the time he came into his own, his brother and sister really weren't around very much at all. And so we could just focus on him. And the focus really was sports. But because we homeschool in Ottawa, every afternoon he could do a different sport, meet different people, talk to different adults, and really know, again, who he was. He's very comfortable talking with people of all stripes, and he's studying kinesiology now.
I did want to bring that in, what they're up to, because I know when I started homeschooling, maybe you were the same. I'm like, what, how are these kids going to turn out?
Exactly. And you think, how are they going to get into university? That was huge because for my husband and me, this was the goal. And for every homeschooling family, that's not the goal, but we're both university educated. So we just assumed they would go to university. But when you homeschool, how do they get to university? It's very, very stressful until you're actually over it.
Yeah, that actually is a discussion for...
that's another topic. That's another topic.
Facebook Live, but I think it will be many Facebook Lives.
Yes.
Or workshops or something, because that's absolutely doable.
It's incredibly easily doable, actually. Yes. And in fact, I was talking to someone earlier this year, and her daughter, homeschooled daughter, would like to go to McGill. And so she wanted some advice. And I said, well, my kids have only done university in Ontario, but let me just Google McGill. McGill actually has a tab for homeschool applicants, what they need to do. So you just click on the tab for homeschool applicants and you do everything they say. So
Yes.
the high schools are actually not connected with the universities. So that's something that you can just put
Yeah.
aside.
So, sorry, and Matthew. Yeah, Matthew graduated.
Yeah, so Matthew, our oldest, went to the University of Waterloo and he graduated with a degree in computer engineering, and he works at Signiant right now. He just got married in June, so he's doing very well. He's very happy. He loved his experience at Waterloo. And in fact, he met his wife at Waterloo as well, even though she's from Ottawa. And our daughter has a science degree from the University of Ottawa, and she's doing her Bachelor's of Education degree right now at the University of Ottawa as well. And it's for high school, and her two teachables are math and chemistry. So she's enjoying her practicum. She's working at Woodruff High School right now and enjoying that very much.
And you mentioned your youngest is studying kinesiology.
Yeah, so Luke is in first year university at Lakehead, and he's studying kinesiology. He was accepted to all the universities he applied to, and this was our fear because his brother and sister, being the more academic, we thought had the higher marks, had the better resume when they sent everything off to the universities. But it turns out Luke had the marks that they wanted to see and the experience, so he was accepted everywhere. And he chose Lakehead, which is 16 hours away. It is, but it's a small university. Yeah, I don't know. But it's a small university, a beautiful campus, and his competitive sport is cross-country skiing and biathlon, and they already have snow. He's already skiing on snow. So
he must be loving it.
He's loving it. He is. Yeah.
I really liked another conversation that we've had in the past is how you really created focus, and you call it the 3 M's.
Yeah. So, we always hear school being reading, writing, arithmetic. Well, our school was music, math, and motion, and not always in that list, but music was important. I'm not musical, but my husband is very musical. And I think music is a way to expand your brain. It's something different than academics. It works different parts of your brain. And I'm very interested in, as a personal life enhancer, in making their brain work as well as it can. So music was a way to open their brain to something else. And it was also relaxing for all of them. So even Matthew, when he went to the University of Waterloo, chose a residence that had pianos in it. So he could play the piano when he was stressed out or when he just needed to relax. So this became something they could do to relax. So music is very important for all 3 of them. And Renee Shue had a homeschool band, and all 3 of my kids joined the homeschool band and learned different instruments with her. It was amazing. So that was something that homeschoolers could do that you can't always do in school. Sometimes there's a band in school, it's true, but this was good. So the music was there. Math, if you can read and do math, you can teach yourself anything. This is the most important thing. So obviously reading was a big part of our homeschool, but it doesn't start with M. So So the music, the math, and even for math, we weren't focused on pushing in. Like our older son spoiled us because he understood calculus from the age of 5. I still don't understand calculus, but his dad also has a math degree, so that's genetic on that side. So he really spoiled us. And then when our daughter started struggling a bit with math, we thought, should we look at new curriculums, or is it just because she doesn't want to follow in her brother's footsteps? So we thought about that and we kept the curriculum. But when Luke was in high school, he really did not like that curriculum we chose. It was Saxon math, which is the gold standard for math usually. But he's a little lazy, and Math UC had some of the problems already written out, so you just had to do the math. And that worked a lot better for him. So for grade 11 and 12, he did Math UC. And so, the focus was on math, but also on making the math not easy for them, but something that they could understand and learn from how it was being taught.
Important to realize, that our children have different interests, but also learn differently because,
They do.
yeah,
Yes.
my second two also used a different math curriculum because the textbook math curriculum just didn't work well for
Yeah,
them.
exactly. So it works for some and not for others. And
Hmm.
that's the bonus too of having a homeschool community is you talk to other people and say, well, what did you do? Is it okay to change textbooks? Like, is it, and it is okay to change textbooks and you can, yeah, and then you can
Absolutely.
borrow textbooks from your friends to see if that really does work before you buy it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah, and the motion was sports. Again, that's from my husband too. He's very athletic as well. And so our children kind of took after him. And when you homeschool in Ottawa, there's homeschool hockey, homeschool soccer, swimming lessons during the day, gymnastics. I don't know if that's still ongoing. My kids all did gymnastics. And so every
Mhm.
day there was a different sport they could do that, it just helped get them out of the house. It moved their body, which again helps out your brain, but it keeps them healthy and active and meeting friends in a very social situation. So they have a
That
lot of
have
friends.
that have like
Yeah.
interests too.
Yeah. And in
And
fact,
then
Yeah, I was going to say Matthew, so he lives in Ottawa and he obviously has graduated even from university, but they called him up to play homeschool hockey the other day and he was so happy. Yeah. So it stays with them.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the way music, math, and motion. I mean, it just
Mhm.
sounds great.
It
But
does. It
also,
sounds great. Yeah.
if you were to have the opportunity for your children to do, I'm trying to think of something that doesn't fit into that.
Yeah, like
Um,
drama.
then it's easy for you to say, no, we're not doing drama. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter how exciting it is, how like absolutely wonderful drama would be,
Yeah.
but it wasn't one of
It
your,
wasn't
you
part
and
of
your
those.
husband's goals
Yeah.
for your children.
Yeah. Now,
Hmm.
if they had um, expressed an interest for it, we would have looked into it. For example, with Kaylin's dance studio, it was in Canada where we live, so we could walk there. And then it moved to Stittsville, which, as you know, is very far away from Canada. And we thought, oh, this is really far away. Do you want to do something else? And so she thought maybe she would join the Ron Maslin Kids Company for the theater. And they were very welcoming to her. And we went together for one information night, and someone took her backstage and showed her things. And I looked at the schedule and said, yeah, it will work out. For one thing, you can walk there, so you don't need the car, because we'll need the car to get the boys to, whatever they do. And then she thought more about it and she said, no, she really did like dance. And so, yeah, we made the move out to Stittsville.
Mhm.
And she's still at the Stittsville dance studio.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you
So
very
we
much.
were open.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I love how you had like a overarching vision, you can probably
Hmm.
say, is your life enhancer. And
Yeah.
then your long-term goals, we'll say, of music, math, and motion, and developing that
Hmm.
whole person
Yes. Yeah.
through those.
Through the rest.
And then how that's helped you decide on the curriculum and the
Hmm.
activities that
Yeah.
you did. So just so our listeners can see how it's all starting to come together now.
It does come
Anything.
together. It's
Mhm.
usually when you are in it for a few years or almost out of it that you can look back and say, oh, look, we did have a purpose. Because when you are starting, you just think, oh my goodness, it's a jumble. And we've signed up for, the museum programs and we've signed up for gymnastics and now we're double booked for this and I can't get supper on the table. Actually, I don't know how I get supper on the table. I was thinking about that the other day because we were out every afternoon and because they danced and did Nordic skiing, we were out almost every evening. And I have no idea how I fed them.
I
They were fed.
remember
Oh, yeah?
often you would have the crock pot on. You were very
Oh,
organized, always thinking about
that's
what's the next
probably,
meal. Because, yeah,
yeah.
when we have growing children, those meals are
Yeah.
important, especially ones like yours that are very active.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So yeah, it's amazing. And when you're in it, you think it will never end. And then it ends and you look back and you think, that didn't take very long. And I
Mhm.
missed doing so many things, or I always thought that, or wish that I spent more time with them. And people look at me funny. They say, well, you homeschooled your kids. And I said, "Yeah, but I really like my kids." And I would sometimes go to bed going, "I didn't really spend that much time with them today."
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it was,
That's
homeschooling is a lifestyle, and you really have to like each other to do it. Yeah.
that is a good segue into our next month, where we're going to be talking about attitude. And then in January, we're going to be the R in Spark is reflection, where we reflect
Mm.
back on the year, on up to this point, and we adjust and we keep on
Yeah.
going. So I want to thank you so much, Christine, for joining
Yeah.
me and
Well, thanks
having
for
this
inviting me.
conversation.
Yeah, it was nice to see you again finally, and yeah,
Yeah.
and rethink my homeschool years, because it does go so fast, and yeah, they're all wonderful
Mhm.
memories. I still hang out with my homeschool moms.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I do. So it's
Awesome.
wonderful. Yeah.
So I hope this has been helpful for those of you that are listening, and we want to hear from you. Let us know what you think, what you thought, if there's anything you agree with that you don't agree with. Let us know where you are on that homeschool journey and share with the group. We want to spur each other on and encourage each other on. This has been Spark Homeschool Parent. Our commitment is to equip you with the skills and the mindset to navigate through this ever-changing homeschool journey. If you're looking for a community of encouragement, join us if you haven't already in the Spark Homeschool Parent Facebook group. And join me again next week, Friday, 1 p.m., again on Facebook Live, where I have the opportunity to have a conversation with another good friend of mine. Until next week.
Bye.